it has been another turbulent week in terms of tariffs and the economic outlook. Let's get some perspective on all of that with Jason Goldberg. He's the Chief Commerce Strategy Officer at Publicis Groupe. Jason, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Karina. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, sir. So not necessarily an easy task, but can you help get viewers up to speed for us on the state of reciprocal tariff negotiations at the moment? The Italian leader visited yesterday, Giorgia Meloni, and the White House says other talks are also on the books.
Yeah, the U key on my keyboard is broken from typing the word uncertainty so many times in the last month, and I think that continues to be the case. Basically, all the reciprocal tariffs, save the ones applied against China, are on a 90-day pause, and lots of countries have expressed an interest in discussions with the United States. We don't know the outcome of those discussions yet. We don't know if new agreements are going to be reached, if further pauses and delays will happen, or if these very high tariffs will get implemented. So at the moment, it's very difficult for American consumers to predict what is going to happen to pricing in the short term, and it's very difficult for retailers and businesses to make investments and have a plan forward because there's so much uncertainty.
And then where do you think things stand with the U.S. and China specifically right now? Donald Trump has been sort of, opining that he thinks a deal will get done in relatively short time. We're not seeing too much movement, I should say, in that direction. And I asked our previous guests, I'll ask you as well, do you think we get a deal done between the U.S. and China in short order?
So I certainly think we're likely to have a sustainable outcome, and hopefully sooner rather than later. I don't know if I'll characterize it as a deal. Both economies are very large and robust. Both make a lot of goods that consumers in the other countries want. In the world trade system, it's very unlikely that China and the United States are not partnering in some way on trade, whether that's an agreement reached between government leaders or an uncomfortable compromise reached due to political pressures and pressure from the populaces. It remains to be seen, but it's hard to imagine that we don't have some viable platform of trade between these two countries.
And Jason, what have we seen as far as industries and the pain that they've been inflicted with, the ones that are most exposed to Chinese tariffs going into effect?
Yeah, originally we certainly would have said that the electronics industry is particularly exposed. A lot of Americans have this perception that the goods produced in China are the low labor, low cost goods. And while that was once true, of course, today China is not the low labor, low cost manufacturer. They tend to be a manufacturer of more difficult to manufacture, higher value goods. And so a lot of the textiles and apparels, there now is a very distributed supply chain across the world. But a lot of those consumer electronics are still predominantly sourced in China. So when the reciprocal tariffs were first announced, that was a big concern. Obviously, there's been a carve-out at the moment, and like all the rest of these things, there's a lot of uncertainty about how long that carve-out will be, and or whether there'll be some other tariff structure for those electronics.
We've just got a pretty decent CPI report for March that shows inflation actually trended a little bit lower, right? Closer to the Fed's 2% target. And then we've also got consumer sentiment, which says that they're expecting inflation to be, close to 6% a year from now. So they're very divergent viewpoints. Obviously, the CPI came out before most of these tariffs were implemented. So when will small businesses and consumers start feeling the impact? Are they already starting to feel some of it?
Yeah, so small businesses are for sure starting to feel the impact. They have to make a lot of, to them, very meaningful financial decisions well in advance of having goods to sell to consumers. So they're ordering goods. In many categories, toys is a category that's heavily exposed to Chinese tariffs. and many small businesses would be ordering their orders of Christmas toys right now, and there's so much uncertainty that's very risky. You don't know what your final cost will be for those orders, and how much tariffs you'll have to pay, and whether those goods will be competitively priced when they do come into the market. And so a lot of small businesses are already struggling with making these longer-term business decisions. We haven't seen these tariffs really impact prices of goods at the moment, and if anything, we're seeing a spike in demand. Here in the United States, the U.S. Department of Commerce retail data came out for March, and it was pretty robust. That was all sales that happened just before the tariffs were announced, and I suspect when the April data comes out, we'll see the first half of April sales will be very robust as consumers sort of rush to stock up before price increases or perceived price increases take effect. A lot of sellers in the United States are leaning into that and in fact marketing the fact that prices may be going up and you should place your orders now. So that all impacts the consumer expectation and the consumer confidence.
Yeah, we wonder if this is all the calm before the storm. We'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your perspective and for all of that insight. Jason Goldberg, happy Easter to you, sir.
Happy Easter.